The pen that refused to sign. How a scribbled plea on a deposit slip ended my daughter's betrayal. The pen trembled in my hand as my daughter, Vanessa, tried to sweet-talk me. Her husband, Sebastian, had his hand clamped on my shoulder. I was one signature away from losing it all. But, instead of signing the power of attorney, I scribbled a desperate plea for help. And, in that moment, the battle to reclaim my dignity from the people I loved most had just begun. The bank smelled of copier toner and burnt coffee. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, steady as a metronome, as if they could flatten the panic in my chest. The clock on the wall said 3:15 p.m. I had been here 1,000 times before, but never like this. Never with my daughter gripping my arm like I was a flight risk. "Dad, it's routine," Vanessa whispered. Her voice was soft, sugar poured over broken glass. "Just a signature, that's all." Beside her, Sebastian leaned against the counter, one elbow propped, his other hand wrapped tight around a styrofoam cup that reeked of stale coffee. His smile was for the cameras mounted in each corner. His hand, pressing down on my shoulder, was for me alone. I looked at the paper slid across the marble counter. Power of attorney, draft form. The neat black letters swam for a second. My name, Robert Whitaker, typed at the bottom, and an empty box labeled co-signer. I knew what that meant, though they dressed it up as just in case. $50,000 left. That was the last of it. 40 years of grease under my nails, Eleanor's pills, the down payment for Vanessa's house, the endless tuition checks. All reduced to a number that now blinked on the teller's screen. "Please, Dad," Vanessa coaxed, her eyes wide as though love itself depended on my pen stroke. "It's for Caroline's ballet. For family. You always said family first." My hand shook over the pen. The silver band of my wedding ring, scratched and dulled, pressed against my knuckle as if Eleanor herself tugged at me. I could almost hear her voice. "Help, not enable. Put it in writing." Sebastian's fingers dug harder into my arm. "Come on, sir. No need to make a scene. Just sign, quick and painless." If it was painless, why did his grip hurt like hell? I bent, but not to sign. Instead, I let my pen hover, hesitated, and then pressed it to the back of a deposit slip. My handwriting was jagged but clear. "Help. I'm being coerced." I slid it forward, #meta, sex 0.05, tucked beneath the power of attorney papers, until it stopped against the manicured fingers of Mr. Thompson, the branch manager. His eyes flicked down, lingered on the words. A tiny pause. The hum of the air conditioner filled the silence. Then he smiled, professional, calm. "Mr. Whitaker, why don't we step into my office? Standard voluntary verification. Just routine." Vanessa brightened too quickly. "See, Dad? Even he says it's routine." But Thompson's gaze flicked to me, then to the silent alarm under his desk. A discreet press of his finger. I caught it, the faintest click, like a typewriter key, but enough. My lungs loosened for the first time in weeks. "Of course," I said, forcing my voice steady. "Routine." Sebastian's jaw tightened. He shifted his weight, the scent of tobacco clinging to his jacket. "We don't have all day." "You'll wait," Thompson said smoothly. "Compliance requires privacy." The teller's machine clicked in Word, counting bills for someone else, filling the room with the hollow sound of money being sorted. I felt each note like a shovel of dirt on a coffin. As Thompson gathered the papers, the camera above caught Sebastian's tight smile, Vanessa's nervous glance, and my trembling hand pulling back from the pen. Proof. Maybe the only thing standing between me and ruin. We walked toward the office, the carpet swallowing our steps. My knees wanted to buckle, but I made myself stand tall. "It's routine, Dad. Just sign," Vanessa hissed one last time. I turned, meeting her eyes. "If it's routine, why are you holding my arm?" Her lips parted, but no words came. Inside the office, Thompson closed the door with a soft click, shutting out their whispers, the clock, the counting machines. He set the papers on his desk, folded his hands and leaned forward. "Tell me what's really happening, Mr. Whitaker." And for the first time in years I felt the smallest spark of hope. Mr. Thompson's question hung in the air. "Tell me what's really happening, Mr. Whitaker." And before I could answer, my mind pulled me backward, 46 years in one breath. I was 24 when I first punched the clock at McKinley Auto Plant. Night shifts, grease that never scrubbed off, the clang of wrenches like a second heartbeat. My hands earned every dollar, and every dollar went somewhere that wasn't me. Eleanor used to tease me, "You're married to that tool set, Rob." She wasn't wrong. My pride was a battered Snap-on kit I'd bought on layaway. By the time Vanessa was born, the kit was half paid off. By the time she turned 6, I'd sold it. "Tuition for her private school," Eleanor insisted, "so she won't grow up like us." I told myself it was an investment. That was the first yes. Years blurred into a ledger of sacrifices. 1982, $500 for braces. 1985, $3,000 for Eleanor's hospital stay after her first insulin crisis. 1989, $8,000 to cover Vanessa's semester abroad. Networking, she called it. 1993, $40,000 down payment so she and Sebastian could buy a starter home they swore they'd refinance. 1997, $50,000 for the wedding. I pawned my wedding band for part of it. A plain gold circle traded so she could have roses dripping from the ceiling of a rented hall. Each number still echoes like a receipt carved into bone. At first, pride carried me. I'm the provider, I'm the father, I'm the man who says yes. But pride turns sour when it's all you're known for. Every emergency became a habit. Every plea became an invoice. Somewhere along the line, I stopped being Robert Whitaker, husband and father. I became a wallet with a pulse. Eleanor saw it long before I did. She battled diabetes with quiet grit, never complained when the bills stacked higher than our kitchen counter. Some nights, she would sit at the table, journal open, hands stained with insulin pen ink and cooking oil, scribbling notes. Not medical notes, moral ones. Pages of reminders, recipes, little lessons she wanted passed down if she didn't make it. One night, after Vanessa had called begging for another bridge loan, Eleanor slid a page toward me. Her handwriting shook, but the words were clear. Help, not enable. Put it in writing. I laughed it off then, kissed her forehead, said I couldn't turn my back on our only child. She pressed her lips together and whispered, "You don't see it yet, Rob, but you will. Love without boundaries eats itself alive." When she died, complications tore her from me fast, too fast for goodbyes, but she left more than medical bills. In the cedar chest at the foot of our bed, I found her journal, pages smudged with grease from my own hands when I flipped through it. On one page, a corner folded, 3 words underlined twice. Ask about the roses. I didn't understand, not then. But she'd hidden something between those pages, her legacy. Not money, not property. Rules. A blueprint for surviving love without becoming its casualty. Meanwhile, Vanessa grew into the habits we had taught her, though neither of us meant to. Eleanor had wanted her to have opportunities. I had wanted her to have comfort. She learned something else entirely. That money was love. That asking was receiving. That Dad never said no. Dad, she told me once, pushing an invoice across the table. You want your granddaughter to grow up nice, don't you? The bill was for Caroline's ballet recital. Rhinestones and tulle, a showy stage. I wrote the check, throat tight. Eleanor's words haunted me. Love without boundaries eats itself alive. Sebastian only worsened the cycle. He lost a job when the construction site closed, fell into credit card debt, started talking like a man who'd been robbed by fate. His pride couldn't handle handouts, so he dressed them up as joint investments. He knew how to press my guilt like a bruise, always with that smile sharp enough to cut. And me? I kept saying yes. Until my wife's journal turned from a relic into a warning. I went back to it after the bank meeting was first arranged. I was supposed to just walk in, sign the power of attorney and walk out empty. But I'd unfolded that bent corner page the night before. Ask about the roses. The phrase rattled in my chest like a loose bolt in an engine. Between the pages, taped to the back cover, I found an envelope sealed in Eleanor's handwriting. Moral letter, it said. Inside, not instructions for money, but for dignity. Help, not enable. If they want your help, let them serve first. 12 weeks. Service for others before they touch a penny. And Rob, put it in writing. No tears, no promises. Paper, signatures, witnesses. That's how you protect love from turning into theft. Her words hit harder than any wrench. She had known this day would come. She had known our kindness, without guardrails, would be used like a crowbar against us. The numbers on the transfers, the empty tool chest, the pawn ticket for a wedding band. I had thought those were my legacy. They weren't. Eleanor's legacy was a system, a safeguard, a way to turn pain into protection. That's what Sebastian and Vanessa never understood. They thought they were circling the last of my money like vultures. But my wife had left me something they couldn't spend, something they couldn't bully out of me. A code. My throat burned as I remembered her whisper, that last hospital night. Promise me, Rob. Don't just give. Write it down. Make them earn it. Help, not enable. The buzz of my phone yanked me back. A new email notification blinked on the screen. Urgent. Transfer today. I stared at the subject line. Eleanor's journal heavy in my lap. The folded page with the roses winked at me like a secret waiting to be unlocked. I straightened my back, the pen scar on my fingers itching for the first time in decades. For the first time since I could remember, I thought about saying no. Mr. Thompson shut the office door behind us. The hum of the air conditioner muffled, replaced by a quieter throb of my own pulse in my ears. He slid the stack of papers onto his desk, folded his hands, and looked me in the eye. Mr. Whitaker, he said calmly, are you signing this voluntarily? The question cracked something open. My throat tightened. For a second, the word stuck. 46 years of habit, of saying yes, of swallowing my own needs. But Eleanor's voice came back. Help, not enable. Put it in writing. No, I said, my voice breaking, but clear. I'm being coerced. I pushed the deposit slip across the desk again, the jagged handwriting staring back. Help, I'm being coerced. Thompson nodded once. No surprise, no judgment, just the steady professionalism of a man who had seen too much of this before. He pressed the intercom. Hold all transactions on Whitaker account number ending 3745. Immediate freeze pending verification. The words landed like an anchor. Freeze. Verification. I felt lighter, as if someone had cut the ropes I'd been dragging. He reached into a drawer, pulled out a form, slid it toward me. Affidavit of coercion. Standard compliance. You'll need to state what happened, in your own words. We'll notarize it, attach today's footage, and lock this account with multi-layer authentication. My hands trembled as I took the pen. The same pen I had almost used to sign my life away. Line by line, I wrote. My daughter, Vanessa Whitaker, and her husband, Sebastian Cole, pressured me at the teller line to sign power of attorney. They attempted to force a transfer of approximately $50,000. Physical intimidation was used. I did not consent. Every stroke of the pen felt like breaking a chain link. Thompson read it over, stamped the page with the bank seal, thunk, thunk, and placed it in a clear folder. This affidavit protects you. We'll also store security footage from today. If they challenge you later, the record shows coercion. Outside the glass wall, I saw them waiting. Vanessa's face pale, Sebastian pacing like a wolf caged. Thompson lowered his voice. We'll set up multi-layer alerts. From now on, withdrawals or authorizations require 3 things. You present in person, government photo ID, and a passphrase you choose. Without all 3, nothing moves. Not a dime. I nodded. He handed me a blank line. Pick a word that means something to you, but nothing to them. I didn't hesitate. I wrote, roses. Eleanor's journal page flashed in my mind. Ask about the roses. It felt like she was right there, standing behind me, guiding my hand. Thompson keyed it into the system. Passphrase set, effective immediately. When we walked back into the lobby, the atmosphere shifted. Sebastian straightened, his practiced grin twitching. Vanessa smoothed her blouse, her eyes darting to the security guard now stationed by the exit. Dad, she said, her voice lilting, too bright. Everything okay? We can finish this. I cut her off. For once, I didn't whisper. I'm not signing. The words rang out louder than the hum of the teller machines, louder than the clicking keyboard, louder than her gasp. My knees shook, but I stood tall. Sebastian's grin cracked. He took a step forward, his voice low. Rob, let's not overreact. We're family, nobody needs to know. The guard moved between us, calm, firm. Sir, I'll have to ask you to step back. Vanessa flushed red, glancing around as curious customers pretended not to stare. Her hand shot out toward my sleeve. Dad, you're embarrassing us. I pulled away. No, you've embarrassed yourselves. Thompson raised a hand. For compliance reasons, I need you both to leave the premises. Mr. Whitaker's accounts are protected. Further access requires his in-person consent. Sebastian's jaw clenched so tight. #@meta, sex 0.05. Eyes shining with a mix of anger and shame. Enjoy your empty house, Dad, she spat, her voice shaking. See how it feels when no one comes around. She followed him out. The glass doors hissed shut behind them. For a long moment I just stood there. My heart hammered, my palms damp, but there was a clarity I hadn't felt in years. I had said no, not out of spite, out of survival. Thompson turned back to me, voice steady. Mr. Whitaker, you did the right thing. We'll also file a report with the State Elder Financial Protection Unit. Here's their hotline." He handed me a card, bold black numbers printed across it. I slipped it into my wallet, right next to the faded pawn ticket for my wedding band. Proof of what I had given up, and proof of what I was reclaiming. On the desk, the affidavit dried under the stamp's red ink. Silent alarm lights still blinked faintly above the teller booths, like a small guardian. "It's my retirement," I said quietly, more to myself than to anyone else. "And it stays with me." The words felt final, like turning a key. Thompson gave a respectful nod. "That's how it should be." I left the branch slowly, the late afternoon sun glaring against the glass doors. My daughter's car was gone. The parking lot was empty except for my old sedan, dented and faithful, waiting like it always had. For the first time in decades, the weight of being a father didn't feel like a debt collector at my back. It felt like something else, like a line finally drawn. The phone wouldn't stop buzzing. By the third day after the bank, my voicemail was full. Vanessa's voice sharp. Sebastian's lower and colder. "Dad, you're confused. You embarrassed us. Everyone thinks you're losing it." Then the texts came. Screenshot-worthy lies. "Dad's got dementia. He's not safe alone." Sent not just to me, but to cousins, neighbors, anyone who might listen. My own daughter painting me senile before I was even buried. And then came Caroline, the little one, 8 years old. A photo of her in ballet shoes, tutu flared like pink frosting. Vanessa's caption. "Caroline cried all night, Dad. You could fix this if you just signed." It was never about ballet. It was about leverage. Nights were worst. Knuckles on the front door, hard and insistent. Sebastian's baritone through the wood. "You'll regret this, Rob." I sat in my chair, lights off. Eleanor's journal on my lap. My wedding band pawn ticket pressed between the pages. I didn't answer. Not once. Silence is a weapon too. Still, silence breeds loneliness. By the end of the week, I went to the public library, where a flyer had promised Elder Support Group. Every Thursday, 6 p.m. The basement room smelled like dust and peppermint tea. 10 folding chairs, half full. A retired nurse, a man whose son drained his credit card, a woman fighting her brother over a will. And there was Caroline. Not my granddaughter, but my great-niece, 24, hair in a messy bun, nursing student. She raised her hand, voice steady. "My uncle forged my signature on a student loan. Said it was to help me. I'm still paying it back. Family doesn't mean you owe them everything." I looked at her. Young, angry, but alive in her honesty. She caught my eyes, nodded slightly as if to say, "You're not crazy, Uncle Rob. You're not black and white." Just like Eleanor had said. That night, back home, I opened the cedar chest again. The journal was there, edges curled, pages marked with oil stains from my fingers. I turned to the folded corner page. Ask about the roses. Beneath it, taped flat against the binding, I found a second envelope. Eleanor's handwriting again, neat even as her health failed. On the flap, a small pressed rose, brittle with age. My hands shook. The passphrase was already in me. "Roses," I whispered. The flap opened easy, as if she'd been waiting. Inside, a moral letter. Not a will of money, a will of rules. "Rob, if you're reading this, I'm gone. You've given too much. You've let love be stolen. Now, let it be earned. No cash without character. Serve first. If Vanessa or Sebastian want anything for Caroline, they must complete 12 weeks of service, documented, witnessed. Then and only then let a trust fund open for our granddaughter. Put it in writing. Don't buy their love. Guard yours." Tears blurred the page, smudging her last underline. But underneath the ache, something solid formed. A backbone maybe, or maybe just her hand at my back, steadying me from beyond. I copied her words onto a notepad, then taped another sheet to the fridge. Boundaries checklist. No cash. Witnesses. Receipts. What she called a family accord sat beside it. Lines empty for signatures. Space for witnesses. The framework of a new order. When the phone buzzed again, I let it. When the knocks came, I turned up the TV. I didn't need to scream. I had paperwork. Vanessa's voice cracked in one voicemail, thinner than before. "Dad, I can't pay the mortgage. Do you want me and Caroline on the street? Please, just this once." But just this once had already stolen half my life. Meta. Sex 0.05. I could hear her anyway. The next morning, an email pinged from Mr. Thompson. Subject: Account correction. Body: Joint account ending 9012, previously mistitled with cosigner Vanessa Whitaker, has been restored to sole ownership under Robert Whitaker. Balance: $12,000 secured. All activity flagged for alerts. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling. Proof. Procedures worked. Boundaries held. Money was safe because it had structure. And for the first time, I understood. Eleanor's gift wasn't cash. It was discipline wrapped in roses. The world outside could call me senile, cruel, paranoid. But I had the letter. I had the rules. And I had the strength to say no. Not out of anger, but out of love with limits. And soon, I knew, I would have to say it aloud, before the whole town. The winter charity gala always made our town look richer than we were. White string lights looped like halos over the gymnasium rafters. Folding chairs wore borrowed linen. The high school jazz band tuned up behind the curtains, and the smell of hot cocoa drifted from the concession table like a peace offering. I stood by the side door with my notes, feeling Eleanor at my shoulder. Help, not enable. Put it in writing. Mr. Thompson met me there, crisp as ever, a folder tucked under his arm. "You ready, Mr. Whitaker?" "As I'll ever be." He patted the folder. "Affidavit copies, policy printouts, your family accord template, and that audio file you brought me." He paused. "If it gets heated, I'll step in." "I'm not here to humiliate anyone," I said, more to myself than to him. "I'm here to set the rules." The MC, a deacon from the church, tapped the mic. "Folks, before the raffle we have a brief community matter." Mr. Robert Whitaker has requested a moment to address the room. A ripple of murmurs. People knew. Word travels, and in small towns it travels with seasoning. I walked to the wooden podium. The varnish was chipped under my fingertips. Vanessa and Sebastian sat halfway back. She had chosen a safe seat, center aisle, easy escape. He had chosen a suit that tried too hard. Caroline, my granddaughter, swung her feet under a chair 2 rows up, hair pinned with a shiny clip she'd likely saved for tonight. My chest tightened. I took a breath. "Evening," I said. "I won't take long." I held up a single cream-colored envelope with Eleanor's name in her careful hand. A pressed rose, bruised brown with age, clung to the flap. "Some of you knew my wife," I said. "Eleanor left me many things that don't show up on an inventory sheet. This," I touched the envelope, "is one of them. It's not a will of money. It's a will of rules. A moral letter." And maybe I was. I set the envelope on the podium and nodded to Mr. Thompson, who moved to the AV cart. "Before I read," I said, "there's a recording you need to hear." The speakers crackled. Then Eleanor's voice floated into the gym, thin with illness but steady. A note recorded years ago and sent to our parish priest when chemo made her unsure of time. "If I go, Father, tell Rob the password is roses. Tell him not to give away our love to fear. Help, not enable. Paper, signatures, witnesses. If the day comes, and it will, ask about the roses." A collective hush. Even the jazz kids stilled behind the curtain. My hands steadied. I opened the envelope. "Eleanor's letter says this," I read. "No cash without character. Serve first. If Vanessa or Sebastian want anything for Caroline, they must complete 12 weeks of service, documented, witnessed, and apologize publicly for coercion. After that, Rob, set up a trust for Caroline. Education and health only. Receipts required. No cash to the parents. Help, not enable." I looked up. That's the plan. Sebastian lifted his chin. "You can't drag our family business into a charity event." "I'm not dragging it," I said. "I'm anchoring it. In front of witnesses." I nodded to Mr. Thompson. "And with paperwork." He stepped to the podium, opening his folder. "As branch manager, I can confirm that on the date in question, an affidavit of coercion was entered into record. Security footage was retained. Multi-layer alerts are on Mr. Whitaker's accounts, in-person presence, government photo ID, and a passphrase. Without all three, there is no movement." He slid a photocopy onto the document camera so it illuminated the projection screen behind us. "Affidavit of coercion, Robert Whitaker." A date, a signature, a bank seal, gasps, some sympathetic clucks. Two ladies in the back whispered, "I'm here to lay out a path back. A family accord." Mr. Thompson placed a fresh document on the screen. "Whitaker Family Accord" in bold at the top, lines beneath for signatures and witnesses. I read, voice even. Item 1. Acknowledgement of coercion. Vanessa and Sebastian will admit they attempted to force a transfer and will issue a public apology, tonight or in writing within 7 days without excuses. Vanessa shrank. Her lipstick looked too bright under the gym lights. Item 2. Retractions. Any statements implying dementia or unfitness will be withdrawn publicly on the same channels they were posted. A cousin in the back folded her arms. Item 3. Service first. 12 consecutive weeks of community service, documented, signed by supervisors. I pointed to the blank lines. Sebastian, you know bikes and tools. Our youth center needs a Saturday clinic. Vanessa, the library needs volunteers for the literacy program, and the community center needs someone to run a household budgeting class. Learn and teach. Serve first. Sebastian scoffed. You want us to shine your halo for you? I want you to earn the thing you keep asking for, I said, steady. Trust. A murmur of approval. Item 4. The trust, I breathed. When items 1 through 3 are complete, I will establish the Eleanor Whitaker Education and Health Trust for Caroline. Funds will be held by a bank trustee. Disbursements made for education and health only, upon presentation of receipts. No cash to parents, no exceptions. The trustee will decide, not me and not you. I looked at Caroline. This is not a punishment for you, kiddo. It's protection for your future. She nodded slowly, eyes full and searching. Item 5. Boundaries. Visits will be scheduled and kept, Sundays 4 to 6 p.m., hereafter, and until revised by mutual agreement. If there's shouting, manipulation, or talk of money, visits pause for 2 weeks. We don't weaponize family time. I could feel the room leaning toward me, not out of spectacle, but relief. People like rules when rules are fair. I closed the folder. And finally, item 6, payments. I will not make any final payments or last-minute transfers to family. I'm only pausing voluntary family gifts. This doesn't touch vendors, charities, or any existing contracts. I nodded to Mr. Thompson. You've seen the policy. He addressed the room. Many services work on no payment, no performance. It is standard. Mr. Whitaker is stating a personal boundary on voluntary family support, not breaching any contracts. I faced Vanessa. I'm not cutting you off from love. I'm cutting you off from using love to extract money. She stood slowly, head bowed. I didn't mean to hurt you, she whispered, voice catching. I panicked. We overspent. We told ourselves it was for Caroline. We told ourselves you'd be fine. She swallowed. I'm ashamed. Sebastian remained seated, jaw working, pride wrestling with math. The math of public apology. The math of service hours. The math of not being in control. Look, he said finally, voice low. We're not criminals. I didn't say you were, I answered. I said you were wrong. And wrong can be repaired if you're willing to do work. I placed my hand on the family accord. Love is not a wire transfer. It's time, truth, and work. Do the work, and the door opens. The gym stayed quiet. Even the lights seemed to hum softer. The deacon stepped forward. As a representative of the church, I'm willing to serve as a witness to any reconciliation done in good faith. Mr. Thompson lifted his pen. I can witness signatures as a neutral party. Vanessa walked to the aisle, trembling. She touched Caroline's shoulder as she passed. At the podium, she took the pen like it might bite, then signed her name under acknowledgement. Eyes flicking to the room. Neighbors, former co-workers, the jazz band kids peeking from behind the curtain. He signed. Not big, not flourish, just enough. I initialed my parts. Trust after completion. Visits Sundays 4 to 6 p.m. Our rule. And then handed the pages to Mr. Thompson and the deacon to witness. Mr. Thompson set the signed pages on the document camera. The screen filled with proof. Names, dates, lines that meant something. No shouting, no threats. Just ink. The deacon spoke gently. "Would you like to say anything to your father, Vanessa?" She swallowed. "Dad, I'm sorry." She stopped herself from adding a but, and the absence of it felt like grace. "I'll retract what I said about dementia tonight." Sebastian cleared his throat. "I'll run the bike clinic," he said. "I'm good with tools. Saturdays." There it was. Pride, repurposed into service. Maybe not repentance yet, but pointed in the right direction. Applause began as a rustle, then gathered like wind through trees. Not a standing ovation, not a movie, just the honest relief of neighbors seeing a family choose rules over ruin. The jazz band started a soft standard. People returned to their cocoa. The raffle resumed. Life, with all its ordinary goodness, kept moving. Caroline slipped her hand into mine near the podium. "Does this mean we can still see each other?" she asked. "Every Sunday," I said. 4 to 6. I winked. "Our rule." She laughed, not knowing what our rule meant, only that it sounded like a promise. Vanessa hovered, eyes rimmed red. "Dad, could we start the apology now? I'll post on the family group and the neighborhood page." "Good," I said. "Truth spreads, too." Sebastian looked anywhere but at me. "I'll call the youth center to Meta owns, crisp corners aligned. I'll scan and send PDF copies to all parties," he said. "We'll also note in the bank file that a family accord exists. If any attempt is made to access funds outside its terms, the alerts trigger." The deacon squeezed my shoulder. "Good man," he said quietly. I stood for a moment longer at the podium, the cream envelope in my pocket warm from my palm, the pressed rose inside turning to powder with time. Eleanor hadn't left me money tonight. She'd left me a way to love without bleeding out. As the crowd thinned, Caroline tugged my sleeve. "Grandpa, can we get cocoa before we go?" "2," I said. "One for now, one for the walk." We passed the table and the volunteer ladled steaming sweetness into paper cups. Sebastian held the door. Vanessa dabbed her eyes and told the deacon thank you. The jazz band tried on a brighter tune. At the threshold I paused. The gym lights glowed like winter's stars. Papers signed, rules set, path chosen. I touched the scratched wedding band in my pocket, feeling its dented circle. I looked down at Caroline. "See you Sunday, kiddo." She squeezed my hand. "See you Sunday." We stepped into the cold, lights painting the snow in gentle gold. Somewhere behind us, a printer warmed up to make copies, ink fixing what love alone couldn't hold. Help, not enable, I heard Eleanor's voice whisper, soft as falling flakes. And for the first time in a long time, it didn't sound like a warning. It sounded like a benediction. At effort,